Commissioners, come home to the mountains.
We are continuing our conversation from last week with Gatewood Galbraith and his running mate Dee Riley. They are seeking the governor's office in 2011, and we had a lot of questions left over from people that had submitted them through Twitter, Facebook, and email and text message. So we're not taking any of those because this is recorded, but we wanted to continue our conversation from last week. Just in case someone did not watch last week, let's touch on something I asked you early on. Many people consider you a perennial candidate. They associate you with the legalization or the regulation of marijuana. And talk to us a little bit about first why you're running for governor and what your platform, where those things fall into your platform.
Well, as a piece of history, I was 24 years old and a milkman when I decided that I wanted to do something with my life. So I figured that I wanted to go to college, become an attorney, become governor of Kentucky, and try to lift us out of poverty. That was in 1971. I've gotten up every day for the last 38 years to do that. I did go to college. I did become an attorney, and I've run for governor on several occasions, always with this thought in mind, and that is that there's no reason why Kentucky must remain 40th, 41st, and 42nd in all the standard of living indexes. We're smarter than that. We have more get up and go than that. And I was wondering what kept us down. And the more I studied it, the more that I see that our political leaders are what's kept us down, and cronyism and corruption and payoffs and the buyout system here in the state, which has gone on for so long. So I just want to find out. I've set up the goal to try to find out whether we can lift Kentucky out of poverty and bring prosperity based on the principles of what America was supposed to be before it became corrupted by the profit seekers and the people who really don't care about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and our own individual sovereignty and our well-being. They're in it for themselves. So I wanted to decide I was going to try to replace those people with honest government, and that's what I've kind of set out to do. As far as being perennial, folks, they say, Galbraith, you're a perennial candidate. And I said, well, Kentucky's got perennial problems. If the people who had beat me the first time had taken care of the problems, I would have had to run again. But they didn't, they can't, and they won't. They are the problem. That's why Dee and I are running as independents, because we see the party leadership as the problems, not the parties themselves. Now, there are lots of folks out there that want to do right. They get elected from the various precincts and the various regions, and they go up there to do right, but the leadership won't really let them. And I think that this current set of leadership really brings real focus to the problem. And that is that both parties they're like two big bull elk. They got their horns locked up fighting over who gets to control the territory. And all their effort is being spent for and against each other while the business of the people lays dead in the dust. So I think an independent is the answer. We think an independent is the answer. To go up there who doesn't care who gets the credit for doing what's right as long as they do right, and who can disengage the horns, breathe vitality and new life into each party. And then when we leave, we're not going to have a third party up there that stays in between those parties. It's still going to be Democrats and Republicans. So all those good Democrats and Republicans out there, they don't have to fear us. What they ought to do is look at us like folks who are going to get up there, clean up the mess, and turn it back over to them in fine condition.
Some people might argue that if you're an independent and you're working with Democrats and Republicans, they may just lock you out and you may be a lame duck for 4 years.
I think that our election is going to be a mandate. I think that if we get elected as the independent ticket, that the message is going to be so loud and so clear that these people are finally going to get it. And that is, if they don't cooperate with us being sent up there, then they're going to be replaced next.
Well, and the other thing, too, when people ask me, are you Republicans or Democrats or where do you stand? Well, where we stand is that I'm a Kentuckian. That's first for me, not being a Republican, not being a Democrat, but being a Kentuckian. And that's exactly what this administration will bring forward, which to try to represent those values, which is really the job of an elected official, is to represent the values of the constituency. So that's been lost a little bit. That's been lost a lot here. And so we're going to try to bring that back into the forefront of attention in our administration.
What would you say, because when people run, they have an agenda, they have a platform. You're now on this ticket. What is Dee Riley's #1 priority if she's elected?
The economy. Hands down. I think that Kentucky has suffered through these years with the lack of economic development. I think that there's a million categories which I could utilize as an example. But good marketing, utilization of these natural resources for tourism, improvement in health care, staying focused on industry. And by the way, staying focused on those businesses that are already here and trying to promote those. And the recruitment. And what's happened in Kentucky, our public relations image has so suffered that we've had a difficult time recruiting businesses. And oftentimes they look at the status of our government, and frankly, we don't do well. When you look at the criteria established to bring a new business into a state, Kentucky doesn't measure up well with, ranking at the lowest of in every single category. So I think improving each of those categories, improving education in Kentucky, as well as improving the public relations image. One of the programs I would like to develop is an ambassador program. So for those individuals that have been very successful statewide, to send them out to recruit other entities into the state and truly represent Kentucky.
We need to change the mindset too, Neil. In 1993, Gene Strong, who headed up the Council for Economic Development, this is the agency that offers tax breaks to companies to come in here to locate jobs, announced publicly, he said, I have a plan for every Kentuckian. By the year 2012, 80% of Kentuckians are going to be earning $8 an hour. That's been our official growth policy in the state of Kentucky, $8 an hour. That's what your tax dollars have been spent on attracting jobs to this state, $8 an hour for your children and grandchildren. Who's going to buy the houses? Who's going to buy the cars? That's been our official growth policy. At the same time, the Council for Post-Secondary Education says that they want to double the number of bachelor degrees given out by our universities by the year 2020. What are those, the $8.50 an hour jobs? I mean, one hand of the state government doesn't know what the other hand of the state government is doing. They are acting at cross purposes. We need to get some unity. We need to start pulling in the same direction. We are spending money defeating our expenditures of other money. It doesn't make any sense. We need to get together and break down some of that turf battle, break down some of that defensive up there, break down the blame credit game, and start doing what's right and give the people who are doing right credit. By the way, I'm so glad Crit Llewellyn isn't running against us, because she's one of the best servants this state's ever had. I mean, she's the one who's done all these audits that have brought a lot of this stuff to bear on the cronyism and corruption up there. If we have our say, I'm going to draft Crit Llewellyn to go to work for the state and audit some of these other places that need
audit. You jumped in the race so early, she may decide to run. So, every 4 years, people run for governor, lieutenant governor. They come to Eastern Kentucky, and they talk about jobs, they talk about economic development, they talk about better roads. Well, we need jobs, we need roads, and we need economic development. But many times, once the election is over,
yes,
nothing happens.
Oh, yeah.
So what will you all do to answer and address those three issues for Eastern Kentuckians, and how can Eastern Kentuckians know that they can believe you?
Well, as I may have said on the last program, if I was ever going to lie to you, I'd already be governor. I could outlie those guys up there if I wanted to, folks. I just refuse to do it. So what we say, we have every intention of trying to accomplish. And, we don't have any hidden agenda. We don't have any special interest groups that control us. There is nobody that pulls our chain. There is nobody that we have to answer to besides the people themselves. We have no party agenda. We have no party dogma, except the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's our party statement. That's our dogma. And I don't know whether they're alive or can even work anymore, but we're going to try to find out. We may get up there and not be able to get a darn thing done, but it's not because we didn't try.
Well, and the other thing, too, I think we're qualified to put in. I think what you have to do is elect individuals that are outside of the normal box if you really want change. And certainly we represent outside of the box, and I think in a very good way. I think that, again, we remember that we're servants to the people, and that's really the job of any elected official, and that's where we're going to head. So one of the ideas for Appalachia, for example, would be to create a council to accomplish that and make that council be held accountable for those jobs and development of jobs. One of the areas, development of Eastern Kentucky really truly needs to occur, and I think that can be done through a tourism and recreational model. I think we can see a lot of dollars. Also promoting those coal industries and gas industries in harmony with other individuals working towards preservation of the environment. This can be accomplished. It is not a fable, but I think that the administration must create a concerted team of people to come down here and do so and be held accountable.